This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk Today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome. No, it's not deja vu. No, it's not for the record. It's my regular slot. Talk Today, and I'm honored to be able to welcome James Samuel Jackson, attorney at law, sitting, sharing. I invite you to be a part of the discussion. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is reminding you.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard.
And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And what a wonderful way to be able to conclude, and not just a weekend that ends in a public holiday come Monday, but the week for Talk Today, to have none other than Samuel Jackson as our guest. Hey, thanks very much, man. I think we're all public servants at heart, wanting to see our country not just as great as it can be, but always being willing to step and contribute. So thanks for
inviting me, Dwayne. I know you've been sort of at me about a while about addressing this topic, and for one reason or another, we've put it off for far too long, in my view. Unfortunately, now the window for getting something done legislatively, which is where I think we ultimately need to get to, has passed once again. And I'll explain why I say once again as we progress. But the topic being the right to use the beach and the sea. As you have seen, sort of this what provoked me to want to come on the show was a lot of discussion recently on social media, driven by unfortunate event surrounding a dock, and folks reached out to me saying, "What's the situation with regards to iron shore? Is it the same as the beach, etc.?" Which is something that needs to be defined. We have seen and have done a lot of research over the years on this. There's a lot of confusion about what the beach is. The Persian law mentions the beach. To address that in a minute, but most of us think we know what the beach is. But in the context of legislation, there's a lot of controversy about what it means, and that controversy is not assisted by a lot of profound lack of clarity due to actions of, among others, various government entities. And I'll explain as I go on. Perhaps it's best to start with a bit of history. The right to use the beach not derived as is most every other right that exists with regards to. It's not derived from the Registered Land Act. The Registered Land Act was enacted in the mid-70s. That did what we call Torrens Registered Land System, where all rights in land are registered, and they operate as a declaration to the world at large as to the state of title and all persons who enjoy some right or privilege in regards to that parcel of land. It's predicated on what we call a cadastre, where we break the islands up into blocks and parcels. Each parcel having a registered proprietor or proprietor, etc. And rights accrue to the parcels of land, not the proprietors themselves. That's an important distinction. So under the registered system, if I acquire, there are prescriptive easement also under, and this is called some confusion. Prescriptive rights exist under the Registered Land Act. There are profits, which basically a license for me to do something on somebody else's land, for example, would be a profit. Fish in a pond or something of that nature that can be established by continuous 20-year use. Now, the prescriptive rights that are acquired under the Prescription Act or Registered Act are acquired in the same way, 20 years long user. I'll explain a bit more about that as we go. But the prescription, the effect or the beneficiary of prescriptive under the Registered Act and the beneficiaries under the Prescription Act are different. That's the difference comes in. Rights which are registered in REM, right? Mean they accrue from and attached to and inure to the benefit of the title of the land. So if my parcel of land has certain rights registered over it, or if certain prescriptive rights have accrued over my part of land, and it's some, you say registered, because the prescription operates under the Registered Land Act by way of registration. They after 20 years, you then have a hearing. You go to the registrar. You have a hearing, and a declaration is made, a decision is made, and those rights are registered. That doesn't exist under the Prescription Act. So we'll get back to the Land Act in a minute. But the Prescription Act actually precedes by well over 100 years the Registered Land Act. The Prescription Act actually came into existence before the Proclamation of Emancipation of Slaves, 1832 or somewhere else, and it was applied throughout the Commons as far as I can ascertain. And so those rights already existed. Most of them already had accrued to land that was subjected to the disaster in the 70s, and then the registration under the Registered Land Law, as it was then called, in the 70s. And those rights include the right to use the beach and any access to the beach or the sea. Now, that legislation is very important because it protects the public's rights, right? And the Prescription Act creates not REM that is the title, but engross, enjoyed by the public at large. So a class of the public, that's unfortunate term they use probably because it's antiquated legislation, which in my view needs to be updated, but it's still good law. So all of our rights to use the beach and to access the sea accrue from that legislation, not the Registered Land Act. That's the first thing to note. And because of that, they have to be approached differently. Now, the rights, the right to use the beach under the Prescription Act are incapable of registration. And there probably is a reason for that. Well, the reason is that they preceded the registration, the Registered Land Law, right? But the good thing about that, the bad thing is that they're harder to prove and ascertain because they're not untitled when you inspect it, right? So they're sort of the one outlier that you have when you're acquiring land in Cayman. We have a really good registered land system, better than a lot of other jurisdictions. We have had since the 70s all of our land registered. We had the benefit of small size, whereas the UK to this day, I think, or at least England, has about 97%, 97% of its land, and they've been undergoing that registration process for years. So the Prescription Act gives us this gift, this right, which it describes as indefeasible. That's important to note. And indefeasibility means it cannot be extinguished. If you take, I even brought a copy of the Black's Law Dictionary, which I found was provided a concise definition, which says, indefeasible, that which cannot be defeated, revoked, or made void. This term is usually applied to an estate or right which cannot be defeated. There is no such right under the Registered Land Act. Prescriptive rights that accrue and are registered under the Registered Land Act can be extinguished either under Section 95 by the registrar where they become where they're abandoned, or under Section 96 by the Grand Court for, among other things, obsolescence. We don't need to get into that. Suffice it to say, the prescriptive rights under the Registered Land Act, which are often confused with prescriptive rights under the Prescription Act, are different simply because one can be extinguished, the other one cannot. So the prescriptive right to use the beach has existed for a long time because it's 20 years user. We don't need, I think any tribunal in this land, any court in this land could take judicial notice of the fact that the beaches of Cayman have been used for more than 20 years. Probably from the time we were born, those rights had long been established.
Right.
So, what is the beach?
We got to take a break. Would that be a good spot to ask that question now and have an answer when we come back?
Sure.
All right. What is the beach? Some beach somewhere. Come on. There's a country song somewhere. All right. When we come back, Samuel Jackson gave us a proper explanation from his experience and expertise. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hi, I'm Deputy Governor Franz Manderson, and I'm excited to announce the DG's 5K Challenge is just around the corner. We kick off things in Little Cayman on March 9th, followed by Cayman Brac on March 16th, and the grand finale on Grand Cayman on March 30th. This year, we're supporting the Cayman Islands Girls Brigade, the Cayman Islands Scouts Association, and the 1-to-1 Foundation, each helping to shape our next generation. Join us in making a positive impact. For registration details, find us on Facebook at DG's 5K Challenge.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room. Unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic. No, sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Has your child been diagnosed with ADHD, or have you been told to seek an assessment for your child based on certain hyperactive, inattentive, or impulsive behaviors? Then the Family Resource Center's Understanding ADHD virtual workshop can help. The workshop supports parents' understanding of ADHD, parenting strategies for children with ADHD, and other useful information to support your child. Contact Family Resource Center at frc@gov.ky to reserve your spot for this free workshop.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And James Samuel Jackson, I should just read this if you'd allow me, because it's good to see in our country our people starting to respect and recognize the value. And one of our listeners says, I'm so happy the one and only JSJ is on with you, James Samuel Jackson. You know what? I say, yeah, that's good. We start to respect and appreciate that we do have valuable resources amongst the people. You know, not to inflate, not to flatter, but to...
And you know, I do this sort of thing every now and again when I have time, because I think it's, as Thomas Paine once said, and I'm paraphrasing, those who know ought to share, is how I look at it, right?
Yeah.
It is a duty of every man who has knowledge to try to share it, to inform his fellow citizens. That's the spirit with which I do this sort of thing. And because, if I'm being honest, as someone who's practiced law for over 30 years in Cayman, it bothers me to see how many people get to weigh in, right, on issues like this. Speak with a voice of authority, and on social media in particular, and not knowing the unintended consequences of their actions. I'm going to deal with that later on, because there's some things that are being done for the sake of convenience and being said and promoted for the sake of convenience of certain initiatives that I think stand a very good chance of threatening, if they haven't already compromised our rights under this law. Okay. And I'll explain how that works in a minute.
Yeah.
But back to what is the beach?
What is the beach?
So, based on some quick research in the UK, the first thing we came across just today actually is that Scotland has actually tackled this whole issue about what is the beach, because there's old case law that says it's the foreshore. Now, the foreshore is generally regarded as the all of that land between the high tide, meaning the spring and neap high tides, the average of that, which coincidentally is what our land survey regulations refer to, but our land survey department does not conform to. That has a number of consequential effects, and this is nothing new. And the low water mark. So the foreshore is basically, if you lay that on top of West Bay 7 Mile Beach, bearing in mind that everywhere that there's sand that was transported there by the sea, at least most of the sand, that's the sand area there, if not all of it, should be considered a beach. Unfortunately, this legislation, which has existed since the 1800s, no one has seen. We adopted it from Jamaica in 1964. No one has seen fit to touch this. As many battles as we've had between citizens of this country who go to enjoy the beach as their parents, grandparents have enjoyed, have been kicked off the beach. They've been shamed, embarrassed, all sorts of things. We continue to hear about those things, and there's even more recent, recently, there's even more aggressive things that are happening, and it needs to be clarified. And it's not. This is not to assign blame to, say, the evil developers or the folks who live in condos on 7 Mile Beach. Even when they offend the spirit and intent of this law, they, I believe, mostly do it in ignorance of the law. And for that reason, we should have updated this law long time ago. I tried way back when to do that. So back to the question of the beach. That was one of the things I proposed from a while back. Why can't we define that? We have the wonderful tools to do it. We have satellite imagery from Google Earth. We have aerial photography that we pay for, that is done every 3 or 4 years. We have an entire land information system that has photographed this entire island and the sister islands. Some of the aerial photography I've seen dates back to the 50s. It's black and white. Why in God's name haven't we fixed this so that everyone knows what the beach is? And I'll tell you in a minute why that's important, right? Because whatever is beach, regardless of ownership, the public has an indefeasible right to use it. But it needs to be defined because the law expects it to be defined. Because if it's based on long user, it has a certain footprint. That's important to bear in mind. It stays in position. There is talking about initiatives done for convenience or other things that have adverse consequences. There is this idea that's been promoted, and it's an absolute myth, that all coastal boundaries in Cayman, all coastal land in Cayman, have ambulatory boundaries. Well, that is only partially true. And in fact, in this day and age today, 2025, it is almost certainly untrue, because most every parcel along the coastline, especially because of the price of it, right? The price attached to it, has a fixed boundary survey. And the fixed boundary survey stays in position, just like the public prescriptive envelope, let's call it that, the beach. The beach, when you acquire a right based on use, it stays fixed in that position. You don't get to move it around. That same applies to any easement. You don't, because you have an easement across my land on the northeast corner, don't give you a right to move it to the other corner without my consent.
It's where it is. It's where it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And by now, folks might start to understand what the problem is.
Okay.
Right.
As you explained, you use the word ambulatory.
Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Ambulatory means shifting with the tides.
Yeah.
Moving. Right.
And you're saying that's not the case.
That is not the case. I understand where it comes from. It comes from a 1987 amendment to the land survey regulations. Land survey regulations.
Not law, but regulation.
The regulations. That's right. You hit the nail on the head. It is that is subordinate legislation, which ranks below primary legislation. So that cannot displace the clear intent of the Registered Land Act when it comes to regards to boundaries. A survey is a means to end. You conduct a survey in order to determine and subsequently register a boundary. Once it's registered, there's no need to survey it ever again.
It's fixed. It stays there.
But for the sake of convenience and other things, I don't want to get into what those might be. We have foolishly tried to, because of this promoted concept of an ambulatory coastline, we have caused amendments to the development and planning regulations, for example, where we measure setbacks. Now, I don't want to conflate all these things, but I think all these things are connected because people confuse them, right? Setbacks are measured now from a survey of a high water mark, right, which is a moving target. And you're supposed to, the intent of a setback is, was always traditional up until 2016, was a measurement from a boundary to a building. That's what it was defined as. 2016, the then government changed it to include high water marks. And then they said you need a 6-month high water mark survey. So the consequence of that has been a zigzag line down the beach of buildings. Because if you're setting your building back from a moving line, there's now a move to fix that line. But I don't if I understand it correctly, it's probably being done on the wrong premise. And I'm going to say bravely that if we had fixed this Prescription Act problem, we would have had a hard fixed line to measure a setback from long ago.
Yeah.
Because it would be fixed, because it is fixed by once you acquire it by prescription, it sits in situ there. And guess what? As a consequence, if the sea comes and erodes the beach, guess what happens to the prescriptive area? It disappears. It goes out to sea. It stays there, It's still there. But if you want to enjoy it, you gotta probably have to wade around neck deep in water. And there are areas on the southern end of 7 Mile Beach, and there's a lot of talk now going on about how we need to fix that and all the ways and means of doing that. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, no one seems to have addressed their mind to the fact that our rights have been adversely affected. Our, meaning Caymanians, people who have been here, who belong to that quote unquote class of the public, who have acquired those rights. Our rights have been basically not extinguished, but adversely impacted in a way that we can't enjoy the beach in those areas anymore because there is no beach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that someone restores the beach. I'm going to be brave enough to say that. I think that needs to happen, and it needs to happen as quickly as possible. And I don't think that the public should pay for it, and I don't think the public need to pay for it, because the consequential uptick in value to all of those coastal properties. Remember now, they're privately owned. Mm-hmm. Prescription only gives you a right to use them in certain areas,
Mm-hmm.
It does not affect ownership. So they're still privately owned. The footprint of their parcel hasn't changed despite this myth about this ambulatory floating coastline. That the coastline might physically move, but the boundary is registered and it stays. Some instances, if you look at the land registry's own LIS system, the same land registry that says it's ambulatory, they have on their own system fixed boundaries out to sea by 50 feet, if not more, in certain areas. Yeah. I invite the public to go and look. Find anyone who has access to the LIS, ask them for the area photography, and they'll see what I'm talking about. Not that they can follow, those lines. I won't get into that too deep, but those lines aren't 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But the point remains, or the fact remains, those boundaries are out to sea. So how else could the public enjoy the right to use the beach again unless it's restored, right? And because these areas need to be made available to the public again. And why is that? Well, because the prescription law says, or prescription act as we're inclined to now call it, as if that elevates it some way, it says it's an indefeasible right, incapable of being defeated. But so the only way you can lose a prescriptive right, or the only way we've lost the prescriptive right, is if you lose the beach on which it rests. It's fixed. And so this becomes very important to me, because there are areas of this. I mean, I like to walk the beach. There are areas that, and this is personal to me, that I can't access anymore because I don't have a right to access. And so again, delving a little bit into the unintended consequences of brave new initiatives. There's an initiative being promoted which perplexes me because it is not legally defined, right? It's promoted by, in particular, the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Again, two legally and constitutionally undefined terms. Nobody knows what they mean exactly, and probably that makes them more malleable, because sometimes you might need to adjust the meaning to suit certain purposes. There's this concept of managed retreat. We hear a lot about it now. Well, it means various things. It's a term that wasn't invented here. It applies elsewhere, but the notion that's being promoted here is that we should let the sea erode the beach and prohibit people from restoring walls. Now, this was reported in the paper. I went down to defend a bunch of clients of mine the other day, to the CPA, and I had a say about that. And there's another side to it that I don't think we need to get into today, but there's other adverse consequences potentially for the public when some of these folks start suing us, and the public end up footing bills for compensating all these folks who have invested in Cayman, because this managed retreat notion ends up eroding the beach and the buildings that have been admittedly built too close to the sea. But that's not their fault.
They got permission to do, right?
Yeah. And if those same folks, right? I don't know that they are. I'm saying if those same folks are willing to restore the beach up and down that area, I would say the government should encourage that. If they do it at their own expense, and they bring in suitable sand, not any old sand, and I think they have the capability to do that, and they restore that area, that's a mutually beneficial arrangement for them and for the public. Because they get more beach, their property value goes up. That I believe probably more than offsets the cost of that dramatically, and we get our beach back that we can walk up and down rather than wading neck deep around walls and what have you. So all of this is why I thought it, and you and I had a discussion off the air and months ago about it, and I'm grateful that you invited me here to address this. This isn't, I want to say this, Dwayne. This isn't me campaigning. I want to address that elephant in the room, because before I got in hit the studio, somebody asked me if I'm running. At this point in time, I have no intention to run. But as an old gay man, you once told me the only man in the world can't change his mind is a dead man or a fool. That doesn't mean I can't change my mind, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But at this point in time, so this is not a campaign. This is not about that. This is about, in fact, this is a very touchy subject to campaign on. That's why nobody has touched it. And if it has that consequence, Dwayne, I'm okay with that, you know. I don't really need that job. I've never aspired to be a politician. I was inspired the last time. I didn't aspire for the job. I was inspired for certain reasons. If I become so inspired again, so be it.
Well, this is why those who know when I said to you, thanks for coming on and sharing, because unfortunately we do not have enough people in this country with the fortitude, adaptitude, and the willingness to make the investment to a country, sometimes at the cost to self. We got a bunch of blowhards, no use, but you don't want me to say too many words, you might be retained to defend me. but that's the problem, right? Our fathers and grandfathers, our mothers and grandmothers, they fought for what they believed in. They chastised us as much as they can, complimented our actions because we were doing the right thing. Where are those people with the courage?
Well, it's a cultural thing. A lot of folks say a lot of things that they feel, based on emotions, they feel very strongly about on social media in particular. It's just us old folks that do it this way, right? Because we've had the benefit of time, and we've had the benefit of investigating and researching these things, we might just know what we're talking about. A lot of folks don't bother with that. They pick up a snippet here and a snippet there from wherever, and they put pieces together and think that's a wonderful thing. And like these ethereal government policies that are hatched in departments, right? Not to pick on the civil service, but there's a lot wrong with this country that needs fixing. And if we don't fix it, Dwayne, it doesn't matter how much money we make ourselves, or how comfortable we live. This is a tiny little island. Anything that adversely affects this country affects us all. The quality of life in Cayman will go down, and that's what I'm worried about. And this particular topic causes more conflicts than anything else I can think of right now. And so we need to get it right. And it's unfortunate that no one, right, has taken it by the bull by the horns and fixed it. Now we have yet another opportunity, right, without legislation to restore that area that we rightfully have. We have a right, an indefeasible right to use. And I'm hearing things like, well, unless this happens and unless that happens, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, this will never happen. This will be frustrated once again, just like the East-West Arterial. I don't want to get into that, because I have my own opinion about that. I've stated that publicly. Right? When you destroy, if you weighing up when you're assessing, and I have the development plan. Please remind me to refer to that so that I can disabuse certain members of the public of this notion that we don't have a national development plan. Later on the show. But that development plan, by the way, says the primary objective of the plan is to enhance the quality of life in Cayman Islands. That's the perspective we should be looking at everything from. This is a quality of life issue. If we are slowly but surely, because if these folks are forced to move their buildings back, and they move it back to a point where they can say, well, there is no more prescriptive area here. Nope, you're not coming on this beach. This beach is private. And they can go to court and sue and prove that. We're done. We don't have a beach anymore. So maybe folks need to think about that. Because that ambulatory line thing is absolutely a myth. And anybody that goes to court is going to prove it so.
This is what I like with what you shared, and the courage that some of us have, that will. Like you said, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, to borrow words from that famous commercial, right? But how do we get there as a country to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do? It's all political expediency and convenience.
It's lots of things. It's political cowardice sometimes too. And I'd say that because, or convenience, expediency, whatever you want to label it as. I have crafted from as long ago as 2015, I'd say, 16, some basic amendments to the prescription law. Why did I do that? Well, because the enforcement provisions are outdated, right? That does not mean to say that people can't still enforce it. They would have to go to court and apply to the court for guidance on it. But it says that the enforcement provisions say that a person who is aggrieved by someone depriving them of their prescriptive rights has to apply by way of a plaint under the judicature law, which is defunct, in the Grand Court. The Grand Court, you don't file plaints in the Grand Court. You file plaints in the summary court. You file a writ. So we wanted to tidy that up. And I thought, well, the convenient thing to do is, since this definition of beach is so evasive, ethereal, hard to pin down, why don't we define it in common sense terms? The beach is the beach. That sand area between the high water mark, the absolute high water mark. Because bear in mind, if the water didn't come up there, the sand wouldn't be there. That didn't fall out of the sky. Right? We know how beaches are formed. Yeah. So all of that is the beach. All of that was there, that the public used for 20 years, that's the prescriptive area. And I believe we have the tools and the knowledge to fix that problem, to register, not register that, define it. And the reason we don't want to register it, like those other similar things, those dedicated beach accesses, because the minute you register it under the registered land law, it is subject, albeit you have to make a justifiable case for it. It's subject to being removed by a legal process. There is no such mechanism under the Prescription Act for removing the right to use the beach.
Which is what we should have, which was what we do have, if we would just...
So I know we inherited this law from Jamaica, right, in '64.
But Jamaica was part of...
But we hear over there, this is something I think the public should be aware of as well. We keep hearing that they have private beaches, people that are blocked from access, basically fenced off from the sea, so to speak. I don't know what obtains over there. I'm not going to purport to, but if they had this law in place, it might well be that it was there was a problem with enforcement, or this law was abolished. And I want to flag that for the members of the public, so that they can make sure that they keep their eye on the ball at all times with this law. The day that any parliament proposes to remove this law, what they are doing is extinguishing your rights to use the beach.
Okay. We talked about beach versus iron shore, some other things, right? We're going to pause. Phone lines are open, but we want you to get a perspective as listeners. So stay tuned. Join us after.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments January 27th to February 1st at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Wayne Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com. That's drporterkman@gmail.com. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, This is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
The Garden Club of Grand Cayman and Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park are hosting their annual Family Fun Day on Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. The event will feature a nature table, crafts, face painting, tombola, a raffle, local music, and a magic show. The cost is $10 for adults. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Hamas has named 4 hostages to be released on Saturday under the Gaza ceasefire deal. It says they are 4 soldiers. They will be freed in exchange for 180 Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. It will be the second such exchange since the ceasefire came into effect last Sunday. 3 hostages and 90 prisoners were released in the first swap. And an assault trial begins today against rapper A$AP Rocky, who is accused of firing a gun at a former friend in Los Angeles. The rapper, whose real name is Rakeem Myers, faces 24 years in prison if convicted on 2 felony assault charges in the 2021 incident near a Hollywood hotel. The Grammy-nominated hip-hop star, who is also a fashion mogul and the longtime partner of singer Rihanna, has pleaded not guilty and denied the allegations. The victim, however, fellow artist and childhood friend Terrell Efron, testified last year that bullets grazed his knuckles and he decided to seek medical treatment at a hospital after flying back to New York. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Historically, Caymanians have always had a strong connection to the sea, as it provided career opportunities, food supply, means of travel, and communication with the rest of the world. Caymanian sailors became renowned worldwide for being skilled navigators, shipbuilders, fishermen, merchants, and soldiers. A vast amount of Caymanian mariners were employed by Daniel K. Lugwood's giant shipping line, National Boat Carriers. This career impacted Caymanian communities at large. One such story was that of the last voyage of the St. Clair petrol ore vessel, which exploded whilst at sea on December 6, 1960, with 29 Caymanians on board. The final trip started in November 1960 from Marcus Hook in Philadelphia via the Suez Canal on to Ras Tanura in the Persian Gulf. The ship was 789 feet long, could carry 56,000 tons of cargo, and was powered by a General Electric steam engine, 26,000 horsepower. The vessel was a unique one in that it was a self-unloading oil ore carrier and could carry both solid and liquid cargo at the same time.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land.
Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. Time to rack up some extra Sir Turtle Rewards miles with the Cayman Airways Tampa airfare sale now on. Tampa sale fares are available for travel now through April 15th. But hurry, this sale won't last long. Book by January 27. Call 949-2311, contact a local travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Sam Jackson for sharing with us, to our listeners, for hopefully tuning in and maybe benefiting. Numbers to call, 949-8037, 949-6990. Of course, you can WhatsApp call, message, voice note, hit the WhatsApp number, 925-32621. Sam, as we continue discussion, I want to maybe welcome this first caller.
Sure.
Good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson. Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you today?
Oh, awesome.
Good, sir. Good afternoon.
Good. Good discussion, sir. Good discussion. The beach. I just want to pass my opinion, and that is someone that never went to school. Every day when I went to school, Saturday morning, and when I get there, they were having church. So I had to go in church instead of school, so I didn't learn nothing. But I am wondering if any man has a right to God's creation. When we say it is my beach, I don't know if government can do anything about that and rectify that, because this is just my opinion and my opinion only. I don't think that no one should be able to claim the beach. I don't know, Mr. Jackson, what you say, because I know you're a very intelligent man, sir, but this is my opinion, in my opinion only, and I guess I'm entitled to that.
Sure.
But I don't think that it's right for you can come, all right, can I go to Florida and own a beach? I don't know.
I believe so. I believe Florida is probably bad. There are countries who don't allow, they do various things. They don't allow you to own the beach or the foreshore, or they prohibit building there. We unfortunately, as they said, that horse already bolted, right? We had this cadastral survey back in the 70s. They created all these parcels of land all the way to the coastline. In fact, one of the things that I found interesting, we did a presentation to caucus back in 2016, which somehow caused them then to double down on this measuring of the high water mark setback. But in that presentation, we showed government, which included not only the entire PPM caucus, but the usual functionaries, including the Director DOE, Director Planning, Director Lands and Survey, and the Chief Surveyor, that the very first parcel that had been registered in Cayman, if memory serves, 0000171, I think it was a little liquor store on the waterfront, and that had a fixed boundaries, a coastal boundary survey. So I say that in the context of your question, or the answer to your question, so that to show you that from that time, we have been registering coastal property. We've done that. But this topic that we're touching on today, my intention is to try to illustrate the fact that regardless of ownership, the public can still enjoy a right to use a piece of a private parcel if they've used it continuously and uninterrupted for 20 years. And once they've done that, by operation of law, they continue to enjoy it. So it's not my beach, it's our beach. In other words, the public. Insofar as they've been using the beach for that 20 years, which is probably 6 times that now, I don't know. For as long as Caymanians been here, they've been using that beach.
I agree with it, sir. I agree 100% with you. It should be our beach. I don't think even if somebody comes and buy that they should be able to restrict someone that was born and grew up.
They can't.
Because I remember.
They can't. That's the very point, sir. It's not to cut you off, but that's the very point we're making. This prescription thing it sounds complicated, but it isn't. It's simply a vested right that we have acquired, so to speak, by using it for 20 years. And once you've done that, right, this law protects that right for us to enjoy the beach and the sea and the accesses that lead to the beach and the sea. I'll read the provision in a minute so you can hopefully you see what I'm saying. But the point is, you don't need to own it to enjoy it, right? So I don't think there's no demand for the public to own it. There's no demand for the public for the government to register it as public property. That's not even necessary. The bigger point being, the areas that we have that right to use, some of them have been washed. Yeah. And from what I'm hearing, this is what's troubling me. They won't be restored unless we do something serious soon. They won't be restored, and we won't be able to use it anymore. And the areas that are left aren't subject to those rights, so we will be prohibited from using them. That's because those folks are going to be upset that they couldn't restore their beach. Some of them might be upset because the buildings damaged by storms, because it's managed thing. The building might fall down. And there's insurance implications. There's all sorts of reasons why we need to do something sensible. Not talk about it, right? Not get on social media with your virtual signal messaging about what the island is too built up. The walls are built in the wrong place. There is no good crying over spilled milk, right? You need to fix it. Far too many of us engage in complaining about what went wrong. Well, I'm more interested in hearing you're proposing to fix it. I like fixing stuff, you see. I inherited that from my grandfather. That's, and they used to say to me, things done in halves are never done. And all I see is a half-hearted effort to make it look like you're doing something, but you're not really doing anything. I want concrete. I'd like to hear somebody make a concrete proposal for how you're going to fix that problem. Mm-hmm. Right? And we have plenty of problems other than this one. Yeah.
My idea to fix that would be they having a referendum. They're having a referendum on everything else. They're having a referendum on everything else. If you have a referendum for that the people on the island, the islanders can use how access to the beach, I think that would fix the problem. I don't know what you say about that.
Referendums don't do anything other than express the intent, and I'm pretty sure, sir, that any one of us could state publicly without fear of contradiction that every Caymanian you ask, do you want to preserve your right to use the beach? They're going to say yes.
Yeah. Hey, thanks very much, Mr. George. And Sam, we do have a couple of the callers.
Okay.
Let's hear them.
Sure.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon to you and your guest. I kind of caught the conversation late, but you guys were talking about Jamaica at the time. And I can confirm the last time that I visited Jamaica, we were in Ochi, and me and my then boyfriend decided we were going to take a walk on the beach. And you had to go through a fence. And the security guard stopped us, and the first thing he asked us is if we're hotel guests. Mm-hmm. And I said no. And then he said, well, if we're not a guest at the hotel, we need to pay to access the beach. And I looked at him like he was crazy, because I was like, there's no way in hell that my country could ever let this happen. So, I mean, I'm not too sure, like, if that's the issue you guys are talking about. They're trying to get rid of that.
It is okay. Absolutely the issue.
Well, I definitely would like Caymanians to take this very seriously, because I would definitely don't want us to get to that point at all.
Me either. And that's why we're talking about it today, because I don't know how much you heard about the reference to Jamaica, but my concern there is that we adopted this legislation that protects this right from Jamaica. We were part of Jamaica after all. When they went independent, we basically adopted their legislation, right, and continued forward as a British Crown colony, as we were then called. And so I am concerned to hear that there exist in Jamaica public beaches. Jamaica, I would venture to say, has been populated longer than Cayman, right? And if they had the same identical legislation, I mean, we literally inherited this legislation. How did that happen? And I'm flagging it now, so that the members of the public, not just me, I can't be the government's watchdog, but we all need to be the government's watchdog. We keep an eye on this legislation, and not only the legislation, but we ask for it to be updated so it can be enforced, and we ask for them to allow or require, encourage, support, whatever they need to do. Anyone who wants to restore that beach down there without the public paying for it, because I don't believe it's right for the public to pay for it. We don't own it after all, we only get to enjoy it, right? It's privately owned, right? I am certain. In fact, I've looked at a LIS extract. That's the Land Information System extract. All of that land is privately owned. But for this law, right, we wouldn't have any access or any right to access the beach. We wouldn't have any right to lay on the beach, to walk on the beach. And we need to first of all define what the beach is. That's easy to do, I believe, with a little bit of political. You can do that, and then we need to restore the areas that are gone, because they're gone. Instead of, if the folk who might have contributed that, let's just assume that for a minute. If the folks on the southern end, that's where most of the erosion is, if they are saying, well, we want to restore it, that's what I keep hearing. Why not let them do it? If it's done properly, managed properly. But if we're going to put them through the ringers of all of the usual bureaucracy that surrounds everything in Cayman now, it's not going to get done. And we are going to be, if we want to enjoy the right to walk up and down the coastline of Cayman, we're going to have to get used to getting wet up to our neck in some areas, because there's no beach.
I definitely completely 100% agree with you. I mean, you could basically see slowly and surely, it seems that's the direction they want to go in, because, their beach access points are slowly disappearing. If a new owner builds beside it, they're trying to block it off, they're trying to fence it off and all kind of stuff. But I definitely agree with you guys, and keep pushing the good fight. And thank you for taking
Thank you for sharing that too. All right, number of other callers. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Sammy. This is your fellow troublemaker.
I know who you are.
I really want to thank you. I would dare say on behalf of the Caymanians, but for sure on behalf of myself and our group. Thank you for always getting out there. Thank you for always saying what needs to be said, even though it's unpopular. Thank you. Thank you for continually ensuring that the public is educated as to their rights, especially where land is concerned. It's all we have. It's the only tangible thing that we can put our hands on, in most instances, to say it's a piece of ours. Well, you know what's been biting my toe lately, and I just want to ask if there's any answer to it. Maybe you can elaborate. So obviously, the Indigo Divers situation. I pulled up a copy of the LSS boundary. I know that that's not precise or exact, right? So there's a portion of that where it's marked in red that clearly demarks the boundary of private land. However, the dock in that area extends out into the water. And so where that metal Guantanamo Bay fence, he called it, is erected is on the portion that I would say exceeds beyond the demarcated land boundary for his land. How can he block access? And if so, if legal, like, if you could just go into...
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? First of all, somebody probably needs to ask planning whether he had permission to put that gate up, because I happen to know he changed the legislation there a while back too, so that every fence, remember one of the fences under 3.5 feet, and we saw rounded up 4, were exempt from the planning process. We changed that many years ago to say that is all fences under 4 feet are exempt, except they have a setback adjacent to a road or the sea. That's the first thing. If he got permission to do that from the CPA, he's surprised. Secondly, if it's on his private land, this is a somewhat gray area, so to speak. These docks I've had one case that I can come across in the Cayman Law reports, and it's just a footnote, the Resort Rocks Docks case, where the judge said that a dock is a de jure extension of the land it's connected to. But you are right, it's sitting partly on Crown-owned sea. So you might block access from the dock to your private land. Might, if there are no prescriptive rights acquired there. But the prevention of people, look, you can prevent from damaging your property. Right? That's clear. I don't, the fact that I have a right to enjoy the beach, use that as a comparable right, that doesn't give me the right to go dig a big hole in it. Right? I mean, some kids do that for fun. I'm talking about something larger with a piece of machinery or something. The point being, just because someone uses your property doesn't mean that they're committing a trespass per se on the property, especially where there's reason to believe, and they hold a reasonable belief that they have a right to use it because it's sitting on what is Crown-owned property. Now, Crown-owned property doesn't mean it's that automatically that it's available to the public, like public beach. That's a whole other topic, which probably bears some discussion too, because we see encroachments down there created apparently at the behest of at the permission, express permission granted by the DCI, where they have chairs on the public beach. The entire public beach has been dedicated to the public for all these years. And so if that's the example government is setting, right, then no wonder these folks think they have a right to protect their property in that way, and they do. They absolutely do have protection. But guess what? I even took a look at the Constitution on this topic, right? Guess what? We have absolute constitutional protection for interference with property. Government isn't allowed to pass legislation willy-nilly, even though they've done so around about December 2013. I won't get into that one. That interferes with, in many ways, with landowners' rights to enjoy property. They can only do that when they promulgate legislation that is that accords with principles that apply in a free and democratic society, and that law must provide for prompt payment of adequate compensation, right? Okay. So I say that to make the point, private property owners are entitled to, they're guaranteed that government won't interfere with their rights to enjoy their property or to be dispossessed of it, etc. But guess what? That provision, which is Section 15 of the Bill of Rights in the Constitution, right, that exempts prescriptive rights. That isn't that curious? So the crafters of this Constitution must have had in mind, right? And I happen to know who they were. The author of it is a renowned, I believe, Sir Jeffrey Joel, was involved, is a renowned rule of law expert. That this is the authority of all primary legislation speak. All our legislation is subject to this Constitution. And that Constitution literally exempts from the guaranteed right of non-interference with property prescriptive. Why is that? Probably because the people who drafted the Constitution realized prescription rights are so powerful, they're indefeasible, right? That they needed to be recognized by even the Constitution. And I think I mentioned earlier someone that I was going to read the provision. I think it's that long. I think people ought to know. Section 4 of the Prescription Law, which we call Prescription Act, which says when any beach, not foreshore, unfortunately not iron shore, but any beach has been used by the public, a class of the public, fishing for purposes incidental to fishing, or for bathing or recreation, and any road, track, or pathway passing over any adjoining or adjacent to such beach has been used by the public, any class of the public, as a means of access to such beach, without interruption to years, the public shall, subject to provisos hereinafter have the absolute and indefeasible right to use such beach, land, road, track, or pathway, unless it appears that the same was enjoyed by some consent or agreement expressly made or given for that purpose by deed or in writing. Now that's the proviso. That proviso. So if the public had been gifted a piece of beach, right, by a deed, then prescription law wouldn't operate. Why is that important? Well, that's important because with things like dedicated accesses under the Development and Planning Act, right, that calls into question the legitimacy of those and whether the prescription rights can accrue over those things. And I have been asking for years for us to address that issue because those dedicated access, they're born, many of them are already existing, or they were intended to replace existing accesses that where prescriptive rights existed, where buildings are sitting on top of now, and we didn't take care of that properly either legislatively, and consequently some of these dedicated accesses have been blocked, and for some reason that hasn't been enforced. Right? And what we did was, we're putting Band-Aid on the bullet wound kind of style. We created a whole new department to manage public parks, etc. They have been doing, I believe, a reasonably good job of going after and identifying these dedicated accesses. But guess what? Some of those dedicated accesses are absolutely protected because they pre-existed the creation of that department. They pre-existed the creation of the Development Planning Act. They pre-existed the provisions with which they were recognized as and registered. And when I say pre-existed, I mean they were established prescriptive pathways to the beach. Some of them have been unfortunately closed. There's been decided cases on this where I have personally looked. I was confounded to see that there's confusion, but when that in one of those decisions where the judge was referring to, there's no dominant tenement or servient tenement. Now I know you know what that means. That language, that vernacular, that only applies to prescriptive easements under the registered land law. Those ones that exist in REM. The ones under the prescription law, they exist. They don't need registration. Right? All of that to say, there's many things wrong with where we are, and we need to fix it. And one of the things, the primary thing for me is, let's try to get that area that's already eroded. We stop the erosion. Abandon this foolhardy notion of managed retreat that's going to actually erode at the end of it, will erode all of the beach if it's left to the ravages of the sea that we have a right to enjoy. Because I am sure that at some point someone is going to come up with ideas to say, well, since they wouldn't allow us to, they prevented us from restoring the beach, and now that all that public prescriptive area is gone, we don't need to share our private beach with them.
And thanks very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay, respectful Sammy, we'll take the scheduled break, take some calls when we come back. But as the caller shared, thank you for giving us a perspective. Now we know the true position. Join us after the break.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
The Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, Infrastructure, Transport and Development is pleased to provide the APATH grant program to help you thrive. Whether you're interested in pursuing higher education or a career in planning, infrastructure, agriculture, housing, or transport, APATH is designed just for you. Ready to take the leap? Apply today. For more information, please contact APATH Secretariat at 936-6231 or mpahi@gov.ky. APATH, your path to success in the Cayman Islands.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Dream big, Cayman. The Ministry of Education is here to help you make it happen. With overseas scholarships for the 2025-2026 academic year, you can receive up to CI $35,000 per year to study abroad. Whether it's your first step toward greatness or the next step in your journey, the possibilities are endless. But don't wait. Applications close January 31st, 2025. Visit moescholarships.gov.ky and make your move today. Your future is calling. Answer it now.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks to Attorney at Law Sama Jackson for sitting with us and sharing as the callers have referenced, and I read some written responses. Hey, thanks very much for giving us a perspective. Before we take some of the calls, could I then ask though, based on what the caller just shared and what you were just saying, if this thing materializes the way it is and we end up in a space where we got crown land, so it's our indivisible right, we got, well, maybe sometimes we don't understand the King's Bottom, crown land and public beach, and is there somehow where we end up with, how do I word it, a space where you got in the sea or on the land, and public owned is something owned by Crown?
You raise a good point. Thanks for reminding me. Actually, I wanted to address that head on. If again, I don't know what. If the proposal that I keep hearing exists, right? If it intends to get a coastal works license, or as we call them, that's not the right name. That's not statutorily defined thing. It's a license from government to do something on Crown property. But if they get the so-called coastal works license to fill beyond their existing fixed boundary, their fixed boundary doesn't move, So you'll end up with sand resting on the Crown seabed, and for the first time in that area, we'll have not only the public prescriptive rights over it, but there'll be some Crown-owned land as well. That's beach. and if they were to try to survey it again, this is the danger in misinterpreting, and I believe deliberately misinterpreting the provisions of these laws, right? In that particular case would be applying the land survey regulations so that you're constantly adjusting your boundary. That is not what is intended, right?
Yeah.
If you prevent them from adjusting their boundary outwards by simply following the law, and I don't even think any of them would want to adjust their boundary outwards, right? Then you'd end up for the first time well, probably not the first time, but in most areas you'd end up with at least a sliver, depending how far of Crown-owned land that the public could then use.
Yeah,
and that would be could be better protected than if government.
Yeah, I mean, I
confess. If they're willing to do that at their expense without the public paying for it, let them do it. Just manage it. That's all.
Yeah. And this is where it's so much of what you're sharing. I'm trying to listen because it leads to one question that wait a minute, another question, but you're sharing it so as it is in the simplest form we can understand it. And I know it helps. It's very helpful.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving stuff. We go back. I think you have some callers, but maybe just get this point across. When I said earlier, the things done for convenience that cause unintended consequences, the high water mark, we've created a mythical high water mark for the purpose of the development planning law, and we've created a complete arbitrary way to measure it. It used to be 0.45 of a foot above the Vidal benchmark. The Vidal benchmark is on submerged marker somewhere around Bobby Dock by Lobster Pot, as far as I remember. We use this fictitious thing, right? Because it's easier to do a survey that way. When in fact our own land survey regulation says that high water mark is the average of all spring and neap high tides. That's what it says. But we don't follow our law because that's too hard, right? What we do is we invent something. You know that sort of in the same nature of these policies that some places, some government departments or entities invent to avoid following the law, which is a wonderful concept. For me as a lawyer, I just can't look at that and shake my head. But if you have express provision, they're telling you how to do a survey, right? You adopt part of it to say, oh yes, it's ambulatory because that's what it says, but you don't read the rest of it. And why is that? Again, things done for convenience that have unintended consequences. Let me tell you what the unintended consequence of that is. That actually ends up being much lower. I have this on good authority from a surveyor friend of mine who I absolutely respect his opinion. He was with me when we addressed this issue for 4 hours in front of the PPM caucus in 2016. His name is Eric Cronje. The effect of using this convenient marker instead of what the law prescribes is that the beach, if you use the high water mark, the area between the high water mark and the low water mark, and you use that arbitrary line, it's going to be a whole lot less beach for us to enjoy.
Yeah,
that's the unintended consequence of doing things for convenience. That's what I meant when I said that earlier.
Well, I'm glad that you expounded that because some of us who understand, but you didn't leave any. A couple more calls, Miss Susan. Sammy Jackson is our guest. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, and Mr. Jackson, good afternoon to you, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Dwayne, would you allow me to make a couple of comments about your show this morning?
You can. I certainly don't have an issue, whether good, bad, or indifferent. I want to make sure that we benefit from Sammy's presence here and the education he's offering. But go right ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Dwayne, you know that election time is coming up, right? Everybody pretty much knows that. And you got to get with what is happening in this country right now, the people are very upset with what is happening. And I just want to say to you and OC that I need you to, I'm hoping that everybody is respectful in their way of trying to get their message across. But there's going to be times that the public is going to get heated because we know what time it is in this country now, right? So you get all kind of offers coming up now. They're coming on the show. Well, where were they 4 years ago, right? So the point I'm trying to make, people will get very upset when these people come on the show. So I just need you, Lucy, to be a bit more understanding and don't cut anybody off, because this is the only media that we have to get our message across to the Cayman people, right? This is the one we enjoy. This is our radio station, right? And the gentleman didn't answer one of my questions this morning when I asked him who the roads are being built for. Well, I didn't get an answer to that, right? Whether it's to paper Caymanians or indigenous Caymanians, I would like that to be said, because I know who the roads are being built for, right? It's not for us indigenous Caymanians. And another comment he may also made that in order to get a work permit, you have to be a Caymanian. Then I don't know what world that gentleman is in, but he needs to come out of that and try to learn and understand what is happening in this country, because there's people here right now on this island that is on a work permit and they bring their own helper from their own country. And I am not guessing or making this up. I have proof of this. So him as a minister, he should know damn well that that is all wrong and stop trying to mislead the people and tell them foolishness, because that's why we as Caymanians right now are fed up with our politicians, because they don't want to come on the talk show and tell us what is happening in the country. And when you get somebody like Mr. Jackson is on there, you think anyone would call in? You think one of them would call in and agree with Mr. Jackson, or compliment him or thank him for coming on and doing what he's doing? I bet you not one of them politicians will call and say that to Mr. Jackson. He's on his own. You see, and that's the problem in this country. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sam, if you want to share, if not, we take the next call.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Am I on? Hi, Mr. Jackson. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
This is your friend from Prospect, Red Bay, Sherry-Ann.
Okay.
How you doing? Okay.
I'm good.
A quick question, right? I wanted to ask, I know this is what I'm concerned about. The sand. I know Florida pumps their sand up all the time. But if our sand is still here on the ridge without falling off to the drop-off, we can still pump that back and restore that. So I would suggest to those people to get together and buy the equipment to pump the sand back that all fell off, that has not gone off, to the drop-off as yet. And try a thing, because when they bring in the sand from other countries, it brings in a lot of insects, a lot of snakes, a lot of dirt. And the one at the public beach, when I did the carnival a couple of years ago, it was so horrible, full of ants and spiders and stuff. So I would just want your clarification on that. What do you think? Because Florida do pump every day.
Yeah, not just Florida, but they do it in Europe as well. And I don't know enough about what the status of the sun is. Just to opine on that, that's well outside my my purview or my expertise. But I hear what you're saying. I think that's something they would have to, if they put sand there, they're going to have to find a way to keep it there. I think there's going to have to be some sort of program. I keep hearing that that's what's going to be proposed. What do they call it? A restitution and replenishment program, I think is what they're contemplating. They will require some sort of pumping. I get your point on that. I do believe that issue about compatibility of sand is something that the DOE has looked at, and I think I've heard, and please quote me on this, I don't know, that there's other islands like the Bahamas has a tremendous amount of sand, and I don't know, but I am certain that that's one of the things they'll have to satisfy, the quality of it.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just wanted to say to you that Mr. Fred Whitaker, I know I'm not supposed to call his name, has did a research on it, and he said what's not dropped off on the drop-off, they can pump that back in the area. And you know, on the other islands, this happens every certain time, or 10 or 15 years, and the sand do come back once you don't have the walls up. So those walls is very critical not to put them up, because it pushes it away as it go in and out, it pushing it away. But some of the sand is still out there that they can be pumped up. I just wanted your idea on it and what you thought and where else that you see that did that. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Okay, thanks. Thanks very much. One more call, Ms. Susan? All right. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. Good afternoon, Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Listen, I had an opportunity to listen to most of the conversation. I was on hold earlier and then had to come off because I had something to do. But anyway, Sammy, we all really appreciate your contribution, especially from the legal side of things, because as you mentioned earlier, it's easier for someone to form an opinion based on information that is either not legal or factual. So it's good to hear it from a legal perspective in regards to access to the beach and the rights to the beach and all of the fixed boundary setbacks and the laws and whatnot. But one thing I would like to add to what you said, because I don't disagree, what I would like to add, and I think you mentioned it several times throughout the conversation, is that once the public don't have to pay for putting the sand back, and the initiative in which is being talked about now is called beach renourishment, is the actual term that they
that's
use.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
And one of the issues with the sand that's a mile down on a shelf in which they have done a study, I won't call the name of the organization that paid for the study because I'm not really interested in any lawsuits. But I know for a fact, because I have close friends who work for the organization who were set out to do some of the scouting and whatnot. But they did do a study. They found a shelf a mile down off the drop-off where a lot of our indigenous sand is located.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yes, and that there is methodologies where you can put a hopper dredge, which would pump the sand back up to the surface, and of course you'd have to have staging areas in order to accommodate, to minimize silt and all that other stuff. One of the issues, and to your point earlier, is that if we do this, allow the property owners along that corridor, because remember the Dr. Richard Seymour's report clearly identified the causes of beach erosion on the south side of the beach, which is on the lee side of the island, which is predominantly calm throughout the year, with the occasional nor'westers and storm systems. If you look on the northern side of 7 Mile Beach, you'll see where there's an abundance of sand. Yeah. And then as you come to the south side, you'll see where it has been eroded. And to your point earlier, some of the construction and structures were allowed to build too close to the water line, to no fault of their own, because we have a planning department that polices these things. Now, when I look at the area in which is being, affected the most, which is the south side of the lee side of the island, which is the 7 Mile Beach, clearly, and I agree with you, if they put together a plan to buy the sand and renourish the beach occasionally, because I saw just last week where the Marriott put in an application to put sand back on their side of the beach.
I heard about that.
I thought it was a big article, and I don't disagree.
I saw that.
If I was government, I would say, yeah, go ahead, but we got to have quality control, obviously.
The one thing that I wouldn't say troubles me, but that I worry about is if you do it piecemeal like that, whether it's worthwhile. And I saw that they had like groins and all that. I mean, it's not for me to say, but my understanding is if you put enough sand there, it'll stabilize, and you wouldn't need groins and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. That's I said, well beyond my expertise. But I take your point, and the fact that we might have a reserve sitting out there on the shelf is great. And the dredging thing is, I mean, everybody has their own idea. We built a lot of this island using dredging. And we're not reinventing the wheel. And there's people. I mean, I mentioned Europe. I watched a program, I think a couple of years ago, on the island of Sylt, which is a very high-end resort island that belongs to Germany, right off their coast in the Atlantic. Every year they do that at the cost of several million euros. They just replenish before their tourist season start. They have an entire program, as those folks tend to do, and they just pump it up. And it slumps back out, and the next year they return and they do the same thing again. And I'm pretty sure, given you know, they have a large green party contingent that they're taking into account environmental factors and all that sort of stuff. So if it can be done there, it can be done here.
Well, and to that, and to add to that is that once we make sure that it's not the cost of the people of the Cayman Islands.
That's my own selfish thing, you know. I don't want to pay for it either.
I share that position with you, because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, because you went into great detail in regards to the prescriptive law, the fixed boundaries, and who own it, who have access, and you're absolutely right. Even if we chose not to go in that area to enjoy the beach, it doesn't change the fact that at least it's there, it's available, and we have access to it under the law.
I just want to say I leave the dredging and the figuring out of the methodology to the people who have that expertise. This sort of my wheelhouse, so I thought I'd come in and give this a plug, because this seems to be forgotten sometimes, you know, like this element of it. And I just wanted to raise a flag and say, hey, what about the public prescriptive area? What's going to happen with that, so that it doesn't get buried, figuratively speaking and literally speaking, when the dredging starts? You know what I mean? Like, if are we going to get forgotten? Because I wanted to run that up the flagpole so that the public can think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree, and I think that once the government, because I also saw in the headline where the tourism minister said that we dropped the ball with the beach renourishment. And I'm kind of glad that we did drop the ball, because if we didn't drop the ball, we would have spent $21 million, like the former premier had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they had allocated $20-odd million to buy sand to put back in that particular area. But I do not, under no circumstances, agree with the government footing the bill to put sand on fixed boundaries that is not owned by us.
That's right.
We may have access, but that don't mean we own it. So I agreed with you. Anyway, I just think I thought I would share that bit of information with you, and I agree with you. You know, if they agree to put it in, and we manage the quality control of the sand and make sure that we got good quality, and to that report that this organization done, the sand is sitting on a shelf 1 mile down, and it's enough sand there to do that for the next 200 years. So it's there.
Interesting.
Anyway, guys, have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
All right, thanks very much. Respectful, reminder, we got to take that break.
Mm-hmm.
Join us after.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. You know, it's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, you know? Mm-hmm. And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Protect your computers and mobile devices with security software to defend against cyber attacks through viruses, malware, and other online threats. Be aware of unsecure Wi-Fi connections when in public. If you need to access your online banking or sensitive information on your mobile devices, try disabling the Wi-Fi and switching to data from your mobile network. If you suspect a fraud attempt, please contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
Health City at Camana Bay is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, offering world-class emergency care whenever you need it. From minor injuries to life-threatening emergencies, our experienced team is ready to provide expert care around the clock. Conveniently located in the heart of Camana Bay, we're here for you and your loved ones, anytime, day or night. Health City at Camana Bay, 24/7 emergency services, because your health can't wait. Visit healthcitycaymanislands.com for more information. Health City, caring for you always.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And excellent company and opportunity to learn from Mr. James Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson, attorney at law. And before we go to the news, we're going to join the next caller. Welcome, and thanks for sharing.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Good afternoon, sir, and Sammy.
Hey, afternoon, sir. A recognizable voice with not just, a resounding, and booming, but also informative and courageous.
Call him a rough me up like how you've been roughed up everybody lately.
Least anyone misunderstand who I am. This is Arden McLean.
Mr. Arden, thank you for identifying yourself so nobody misunderstands.
Yeah. Samuel, I haven't heard a lot of your conversation, but I do know that the gist of it right now is about replacing that sand on West Bay Beach somehow.
Yeah, we kind of got into that, but that wasn't really the focus of it. But go on, and I'll see if I can answer your question.
Yeah, and I know it was more along the lines of prescription and whatnot, but
right.
Be that as it may, first of all, let me thank you because you're the person who has hung your shingles on that in this country. They will criticize you publicly, but privately they come to you for legal advice. So
wonder how that works.
Because we all know you're the one that has done all this, Sammy. You're the one that has been the preeminent with the preeminent knowledge on this thing. I mean, let's be fair. But let me just touch briefly on and then get off on this thing about that beach on West Bay Road. I heard the previous caller talk about it wasn't people's fault to build walls so close to the institutions or the companies, the establishments. It wasn't their fault. They had planning. Well, let me clear my position right now. I made the planning department in 8 or 9, 90 record my objection to Marriott building it too close, that wall too close, So I want that the records will reflect that it is recorded that I objected to it when I was on planning. All right, let's move on now to the possibility of us getting that renourishment, whatever it is, done, replenishment, whatever. This is going to go the same way these conservationists have caused the dump to go and the East West Arterial, but I have to deal with them on the East West Arterial now because they have had the narrative in this country all along. They have had the dialogue, they have had the platforms. Now we're creating one platform too on behalf of the people of the Eastern Districts. But my fear is that no matter who pays for it along West Bay Road, they are going to shut it down and make it so cost prohibitive that we cannot do it. And they don't understand the practicalities of doing things that resolves problems. They get their mouth in things that is far above their pay scale, and that causes us to have problems with it. I'll bet you that beach is going to stay there forever unless you get someone who's prepared to bite the bullet and, regardless of what happens, get it done within reason. We see one party started just recently with critters, and they're the first ones out with their billboards. Can you imagine what a billboard's on the medium? It is electronic and it's run by a gasoline motor. Mm-hmm. Oh, that tells you how duplicitous these people are. Do not trust them, because they're going to go now and try and stop whomever it is that wants to do that beach. They got to talk. Of course, we need quality control, but they got to talk about you can't bring the sand from here. You can't dig out all the drop off. Well, let them manufacture the sand. Let's get this thing done.
Are you talking about the CCP, the Cayman Almost Communist Party? I agree with the slogan, though. Enough is enough, for sure. We had enough of that.
Okay. Mr. McLean, sir, respectfully, we got a news break. If you wish, just let Susan know we can stay on join you after, or we can pick up another time.
Can I ask one quick?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arden, I was hoping that you would end by declaring your candidacy for Newlands.
No.
Just wishful thinking on my part.
Sammy, you and I have discussed this off radio. I gave my most productive years to my country. I have nothing more to lose. I ain't getting much else now either. So I might as well utilize the little knowledge that I have to give that much more. I am done. I'm in my nearly 70. Despite them, you might not look at me and think so, but the little few years that I left, I got to advocate on behalf of the people on the Eastern Districts, and watch me. Stay tuned, old boy.
None have made a more valuable contribution than you. I am aware of that.
Thanks, Mr. Harden, and with great deference to both you and Sammy. Let's pause. All right, join us after.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market. Romario Brown is facing charges of criminal trespass and 2 counts of burglary from incidents in 2024. 23-year-old Brown was formally charged after 2 incidents at the Countryside Shopping Plaza in Savannah on October 17th of last year. He has been charged with 1 count of burglary and 1 count of attempted burglary. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, a Chinese man has been sentenced to death for fatally stabbing a 10-year-old Japanese schoolboy in a case that sparked concern among Japanese expats living in China. The sentence for the knife attack in the southern city of Shenzhen in September was handed down today, according to Japanese media reports. And 5 new fires have erupted in Southern California ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the state. The blazes flared up on Thursday in the counties of Los Angeles, San Diego, Ventura, and Riverside. Firefighters have made progress in bringing the 10,000-acre Hughes fire in Los Angeles under control, containing it by 36% since it broke out on Wednesday. Fires have devastated the U.S. state over the last few weeks, with the Palisades and Eaton fires scorching a combined total of more than 37,000 acres and killing at least 28 people. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market. Time to rack up some extra Sir Turtle rewards miles with the Cayman Airways Tampa airfare sale now on. Tampa sale fares are available for travel now through April 15th. But hurry, this sale won't last long. Book by January 27th. Call 949-2311, contact a local travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Hi, I'm Deputy Governor Franz Manderson, and I'm happy to announce the annual DG's 5K Challenge is fast approaching. Join us in Little Cayman on March 9th, Cayman Brac on March 16th, and Grand Cayman on March 30th for this exciting event. This year, we're proudly supporting the Cayman Islands Girls Brigade, the Cayman Islands Scouts Association, and the One-to-One Foundation, organizations dedicated to making a positive difference in the lives of our next generation. For more info on how to register, find us on Facebook at DG's 5K Challenge.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Samuel Jackson for calling. If Mr. Arden McLean wouldn't mind, as a former parliamentarian, I don't want to say a former, but as a parliamentarian, has always been not just articulate, but had that fortitude, that courage, that political courage. So maybe we can take a page from that. We still have him.
If we had a dozen like him, this country would automatically be better. That's my opinion.
All right. Well, thank you for saying that. And good to recognize your people. Let's take some more calls, though. Hey, welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, Cap. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm still alive and kicking.
All right. Well, when we talk about courage, we know people of your generation have that, so let us extend that to you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, about this 7 Mile Beach replenishing that, I have a plan, sketch a plan about that. It is stupid to import sand and put on the beach without a retaining wall to keep it in. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, I've seen this. I wish somebody would go to Port Hess in St. Croix. When I went there in the 70s, we were tied up in mangrove bushes, and now they got I think the refinery's closed down now, but they got big stores. That place, they could learn a lot from that. Because what they did with that, they made these jacks. I guess you must have played with jacks when you were a little boy. and they surrounded that with that, and they pumped the sand in. They had the dredge there for years, pumping the sand in there, and it's still there. I ran there for many, many years when I was with West India Line, carrying material down there, and I know what I'm talking about. I wish somebody would go down there and investigate, see what they have done, what they can do. It's a stupidness to import sand to put there without a retaining wall. They got these. You go to Panama, you see going into Cristobal, you see these things all over the world. They're there. Jacksonville, Florida. Houston, Galveston, Texas, they're all over. And they finally goes into the earth, goes into the water, and becomes, I guess I'm not explaining myself, but it can be done, but it is stupidness to throw sand. We did it before, and it didn't work. You got to have a retaining wall, and they can make the hotels pay for it. They can build those beaches out there, and they could put big swimming pools in the beach in this place. I got a little plan reading off of it right now. Of course, I'm not an architect, but I would like to sit down with somebody and explain this, tell them how it could be done. Of course, I know I'm stupid, so I just thought I've been listening to this for a long time, and I'm looking at a plan that I drew right now, and it can work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt you, sir. I applaud you for stepping up and saying that, because far too many times we don't hear Caymanians with experience speaking up on these sorts of things, and so then the discussion is always has a certain tenor to it, I'll say, and you know, I'm with you on that, because I have all my professional life I've suffered from that thing which I term familiarity breeds contempt. We don't listen to our own. For some reason, we prefer to trust people from elsewhere. That's part of the problem. But it is good that there are folks who from Cayman who are willing to address, you know, the methodology and all that. Unfortunately, I can't opine on that. That's really not my expertise. I know a thing or two about machinery and digging and that sort of stuff. I have a little bit of experience in that. That was what my family did, Point Air in Cayman. But I don't know enough about that part of it. But I believe you are right. I certainly, looking at it anecdotally, I walk the beach a lot. And I can tell you this, the sand down on the northern end, I think part of the problem is we see a little bit of change and weather is such that, you know, the climate does change from time to time. I don't know if I buy into the full climate crisis concept, but that's part of nature. And so we have we don't have the kind of nor'westers we used to have to bring the sand back. A lot of it is down on the northern end. And a lot of it, I believe, is probably out there in the deeper water. I don't know enough about that to say definitively. All I came here today to do was to try to address this legal issue about, you know, that affects us all, about this prescriptive right that no one seems to be concerned about in all of this discussion. And it occurred to me a couple of weeks ago when I looked at it, like I was overdue to discuss this topic, but I promised Dwayne I'd come on here to do it. But when I saw all this discussion going, I said, hang on a minute, this is something that impacts this whole prescriptive right issue, and it needs to be discussed and ventilated on, and that's why I'm here. But I hear you. I don't doubt you at all, and I really thank you for making that contribution, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. But I'm not. I give you a little more time.
Yes, sir.
This thing, you know, we got. It could be done right here, because those big blocks on that bridge is made there. I think somebody's making those. They can be used. They should be modified. And I said, these. I know you played jacks when you were a little boy. So these things is what I'm talking about. That's the shape they are.
Yes, sir. I know what you're talking about.
And they could be manufactured right here. And not only that, but we could get rid of the dump. You could put, you would have to import a little bit of sand, but the majority of that sand you could use on the dump. You get the fill from the dump, and to keep compacted it down, and then you get the good sand. If you can find some good sand and put on top of it, it can be done. I have 41 years experience, and I've been all over the world. I've seen these things done. I know it can be done, but of course I don't have white skin, straight hair, and blue eyes, so nobody can listen to me. Thank you so much for listening today.
Thanks so much, Kappa. Thank you. And now let's take another call. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
How are you? Thanks for calling.
Oh. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm interested in listening to you and Mr. Sammy there.
Yes,
forgive me, I have not listened to all the show. Someone called me, told me what was being discussed. I'll go later on and I'll listen to the first part about the prescriptive rights aspect of it, because that's a very important aspect that's been ignored and tried to be buried by various governments here to take away that 1832 law.
Mm-hmm.
Because we put in over 500 right-of-ways in May of 2021. Signed affidavit from 500 people. Actually, it's 150-odd right-of-ways, and about 500 people signed those affidavits, and government have ignored it. Tried to lose it, actually, but a different story for a different day. And the Public Lands Commission has done exactly what it was intended to do, and it did not include getting those right-of-ways registered. It's a deceptive law and a deceptive organization.
Yeah, can I jump in 1 second, Mr. Bill? The thing, you missed this part. So I think something that we need to keep our eye on is if we do in fact register them as prescriptive easements under the Registered Land Act, they can be then extinguished. There's a legal process, 2 legal processes actually for doing that. One before the registrar for abandonment, the other one to the Grand Court for obsolescence. Right. The fact that they exist under prescription law as a matter of operation of law as of right, and they're indefeasible, I believe lends itself better to protect our rights as long as we update that legislation so we can easily enforce them. And I went to the trouble of drafting. Twice now an amendment bill, and I have it. I'm glad to share it with you, which does a couple of important things. One, it defines what beach is, and 2, it creates a easy enforcement mechanism where someone who is aggrieved by being put off the beach can go to the Summary Court immediately for relief, rather than have to pay a lawyer $100,000 to go to Grand Court. Because that's another problem we have in this country: reasonable access to justice.
Justice comes to those that can afford it.
Like everything else in this place, sir.
And when we applied for legal aid to fight these issues, the Legal Aid Department of Government said access to the beaches was not in the public interest in the Cayman Islands.
Wow.
That's what our court system said. Okay?
Wow.
But anyway, let me calm down, because I just want to say I have no faith in the legal department, the Attorney General, them whole people, the cabinet, and all those people, because what the PPM did in 2018 when they amended the registered land law to do what you just said, to go to court, that was the exact intention, to take it away without compensation, without consideration.
Those amendments, Mr. Billy, the worst part is those amendments are completely useless, and I know that because I contested this point against a colleague of mine who raised it in a very acrimonious piece of litigation, and the truth is those amendments are brought in 2018. They've created first time a mechanism to register dedicated accesses, which we never had before. But that can only be done when it's voluntary on the part of the landowner. What do you think the chances of that happening is?
You see, that amendment, okay. Dwayne,
yes, sir.
Called for this, so you got to give me time when I want to talk to you about what this, and might go a little bit beyond the 2:30. Just let me talk quickly. So, when we were betrayed by the government, and after getting access to the once supposed to be secret Ford, DART, and government NRA agreement, and where under those agreements, whatever law is drafted by DART and given to cabinet has to present it to the court. So government didn't draft those amendments. That was done by others for behalf of the developer. And if you want copies of all those various agreements and all that, I have them. I can give them to you. About 14 different documents it has taken to enforce that. Back to it. So what you said is right. We were betrayed. Okay. I want you to write this down, Mr. Sameh and Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
4 words. And if you can look it up on your computer, go ahead in the meantime. Human pathogen coral death. I'll repeat it.
Human pathogen coral death.
Human pathogen coral death.
TCCP. Sorry.
That was a study that was done by University of Georgia in association with a lab in Rollins College in Orlando and Moat Laboratory on the east coast of the U.S. From the 1980s, they have been able to identify that a human pathogen is deadly to the staghorn and elkhorn coral. The elkhorn coral God gave us, which makes the most of our sand,
It grows up to 5 inches a year. It lives in shallow water, close to shore. It can withstand a lot of the heat effect. It only grows to about 25 feet deep. That's a growth area. And that is where we got the majority of our sand. We had what we would normally call panchols. Panchols are dead in the Cayman Islands. If you look at the write this down now too. Go quickly to do a Google search on Key West advanced wastewater treatment. And because this pathogen, if it is in the water, seawater by itself, it dies very quickly, within hours. But if you give it nutrients, nitrogen and phosphates, which comes from not fertilizer, in other words, you know, where the body does something with it. I don't want them to shut down your show if I use the word I want to use. And when that goes into the septic tank, all of that goes out into the sea. Wherever you see along the shoreline that green stringy algae, that is excess nutrient. It can live for up to a week in the marine environment then. And then once it attaches itself to a elkhorn or staghorn coral, it, like leprosy, it will continue to live because it kills the little animal that is after the coral until it has killed that whole coral. Cemetery reef is dead. The only thing you have on cemetery reef today is fire coral. That's what you see out there. So what that big thing was built up over the years, over 125 cars were there New Year's Day with tourists. They think what they're seeing is cemetery reef. No, what they're seeing is dead coral covered with algae. That's what they're looking at. And the advanced wastewater treatment removes the nutrients and kills the algae. In Key West, they opened their facility or improved their facility, finished it in March of 22. And the elkhorn coral is now returning in the Key West area naturally on its own because it spawns and it grows. Here they used the people in Cayman Brac and other places here where they have found ways of culturing coral in tanks and putting it out. When they put it out in the sea, they're all dying because of inadequately treated sewage in the sea. That's what's killed the sand. So we don't have coral, no sand. No sand, no beach. No beach, no tourism. Simple.
Mr. Billy, I want to thank you for always sharing, but with great respect to you, to our guests, and so we will end promptly at 2:30 because we have some messages. So, Sammy, I would like you to share if you wish. I've got a couple of messages that have come through.
Okay.
They're not mine, sir. I'm only going to read it. And, well, let me see. Says, good afternoon, Sterling. Says, hope Sammy is running for election. All right, don't be offended. I just tell you what people are saying.
No offense. I'm just.
Here is says can you please ask Sammy what about the people that block the beach accesses? Is that legal? I think you answered that earlier, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
No, it's not obviously. It's
Okay.
The easiest way to enforce that is if it was imposed as a condition of planning approval, it needs to be done, but it has to be done within 5 years.
Okay. Does government get an annual fee for these docks that are built on the King's Bottom?
A fee?
A fee.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they get a coastal works fee.
Mhm.
I think that's a one-off.
One-off, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so much.
And mitigation for turtle grass damage, etc. There's a whole raft of fees that are paid. I'm not intimately familiar with, and it varies from site to site, I guess.
Okay. And I give respect. I wish Samuel would reconsider running for election as we need strong candidates like himself. Okay. Hi, can you ask if Mr. Sami is running this election? Not sure if he was asked and I missed it. I asked because as a Red Bay resident, I want Mr. Sami there. There's a bunch like that, sir. I know you said earlier that you're not, but you can't, be inspired.
At this point, I just don't see it in the cards.
Right.
There's a number of reasons why I don't really want to elaborate on it.
No, fair enough, sir.
On the air, but among other things, there's things I'm engaged in that I would need to finish rapidly, and I don't see how I can do that.
And the reason why I asked that, not to embarrass you, but you shared earlier, only a fool or a day that can, you want to be inspired, but you.
Yeah, that wasn't intended to be an invitation.
No. These came in before you said that.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And the reason why is that I have utmost confidence in our people, or voters in particular, and we're looking for, as a country, me as a voter, for leadership with integrity, right? So if people, whether it's one person or 100 or there are many more, collectively we want a country, and you said it just now, no matter money we got, if the quality of life of our safety, personal safety and security, if the political, economic, social stability isn't maintained, what's the point?
I feel obliged to say this, Dwayne. One of the reasons that deters me from entering that, or has always deterred me from entering that arena, is that it is a thankless job. It sort of reminds me of something Mr. Raymond Alberga said to me years ago about the practice of law. He said, Sammy, this is the damnedest job ever. If you do your best and you win the day, it is nothing less than it was expected of you. And if you lose, God help you. And it's the same sort of thing, right? People, their expectations are hard to manage. You can't satisfy. And that's one of the reasons I think, and that I believe that expectation was enhanced with all the promotion about one single member constituencies that they gave you. But even if you only have 500-600 constituents, that's still a lot of folks to answer to connect to on a daily basis, and then do your job as a parliamentarian, and if you're in cabinet, do your job as a minister, if you're a minister. It is not easy. And I said this to someone today, it's maybe it's not so much they were criticizing or the salaries. I said, well, I don't think people are the job is, the salary is so outrageous as you might have people who are not qualified. And I don't say that to slight anyone. I just want to make the point. It is a high station. And I also am aware that those folks in the arena, right?
The man in the arena.
You know the Teddy Roosevelt thing, right? They have a hard time getting things done. I know some of them that want that. There's one in particular I can think of, two actually, that wanted to get things done that couldn't get things done for a myriad of reasons. Colleagues are indecisive about things. There's all sorts of internecine squabbling going on. Maybe you saw what happened, right? We saw in the end, I didn't call them the quitters. They abandoned the government. I'm not going to get into whether that's right or wrong. I'm indifferent about it. It just doesn't look good for a country. And in that environment, I don't know if I could survive.
I'm glad you shared that. I'm glad Mr. Arden called.
I'm being honest about that.
And it's one of the things that I say that could be construed politically, right? Where I'm accused of defending the politicians of the day, because we as the country, as voters, maybe we have unreasonable.
We elected them.
Yeah.
Under our system, so we, and we simply have to understand it's not an easy job.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on. I invite you.
Not to say that I'm averse to criticizing them, and I think they're wrong. That's part of my duty as a citizen, right?
Yeah. And as you shared, maybe more professionals, lawyers in particular, need to do what you're doing, as Mr. Arden publicly thanked you. Right?
Well, one would hope.
Yeah. Any other closing thoughts you may want to leave about anything? And again, publicly, thanks for being available, helping us to understand some of these things.
I try to do my little bit when I can, Dwayne. That's all it is to this. I saw this as an issue that was being overlooked, and I thought, like I said, when the caller was on a while ago, I'd run it up the flagpole.
Well, it was in there, in the UK, Lord Blackburn, who was a public advocate. I remember hearing that. Maybe you'll be a Blackburn. Maybe. Mr. Alberga has inspired many of us, Mr. Raymond, and maybe what he shared.
Certainly has.
Many of us could see the importance of being that champion. So thanks very much, Sammy. James Samuel Jackson. What is it for? JSJ? Samuel Jackson. Thanks. Thank you, Miss Susan. And Mr. Art, feel better. See you, I guess, Wednesday. He'll be hosting the show. Monday's a public holiday. Join the ministry, join the community in celebrating Heroes Day. There's the event in the morning, and then 4 p.m. to 7, and there's a wonderful evening event. Fireworks will sort of cap it off. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Be safe and sensible on the roads. Be considerate. Be cautious. And as you go about it, recognize that tomorrow you may want to tell the tale of what you, Mr. Bush, would talk about your nocturnal activities. I don't know. Live to tell it here, my friend. All right, until then, be blessed.
Stay cyber secure with Cayman National. Here are a few tips that will benefit you. Ensure to log out completely when you finish any online banking activities. Be aware of phishing attempts and only click links from trusted sources that are sent from your device through emails and messages. Remember, Cayman National will never ask you for your credentials. If you suspect a fraud attempt or that your account has been compromised, please immediately contact our customer support team at 949-8300.
It's me again, that old girl, traveling everywhere with Cayman Airways. This time, I go in direct to Tampa because Tampa airfares are on sale. It's been a long time and I seen Cousin Sally up in Tampa or Uncle Joe in Orlando, but I'm not sitting in the Orlando airport traffic, no sir. If you go in Orlando, Cayman Airways via Tampa, still the best way to go. You can even book a car rental through them, And I know one thing, I'm racking up all the Sir Turtle rewards miles I can get for even more trips this year.
For travel now through April 15th, call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to catch your Tampa seats on sale now through January 27th.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The 2025 National Heroes Day Awards takes place on Monday, January 27th at 9 a.m. in the historic Heroes Square. Celebrate the icons of business and entrepreneurship within the Cayman Islands and honor our past nation builders. Wear your ceremonial best and come out to Heroes Square on Monday, January 27th at 9 a.m.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital, peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.